Hello and welcome to the SBK Betting Podcast. We're into the second week of the Premier League's staggered winter break. But over the next half an hour, we're going to give you everything you need ahead of the weekend's football. My name is Brinton, as I'm joined in the studio by this week by both Freddie Walker and Issy Barker. Now, let's quickly move into our correct selections from next week. Issy, how did you get on?
I'd rather just brush over the section, to be honest. I only got the one. I got Southampton, a massive win there. It was 4-0. But yeah, that was my only one.
Okay, that's
so
fine.
quickly move on, please.
Freddie?
Bet Builder came in, very happy about that, winning the Newcastle Man City game, and then two from three in the EFL selections. Unfortunately, Portsmouth let me down with a thumping loss to Leyton Orient, and obviously the Bolton game got suspended for other reasons. So, yeah, couldn't get that one in either. But yeah.
I did all right. You know, Bet Builder, goal scorer, and two of the ACCA. Wow. 2 of the 4 on the ACCA. So,
this week.
Happy days. So the trophy is firmly staying wherever it is with me. So, due to the Premier League's sort of poor offering this weekend, I think it's fair to say, we're going to turn our focus to Monday night's game between Ipswich and Leicester, the two top sides in the Championship this season. And while Leicester are on an absolute tear, they've scored, I think, about 67 points. They're on course for nearly a record season. Ipswich were really keeping pace with them. They've sort of dropped back over the last few weeks. But this is still a big game, and there's a lot riding on it. So, Issy, Leicester have the best home record in the league. How much does a home win really sort of appeal to you at the price they're at?
Well, in answer to your question, massively. Leicester's home form is excellent. They've got 11 wins, 0 draws, and just the 2 losses. That stadium is just playing a huge role in them, not only going on course to beat the championship points record, but obliterate it, I feel. And obviously, I don't know if you touched on, but 27 goals scored at home, just 7 conceded. And looking at the stats, they've got this staggering 85% scoring rate at home. So it's obviously a fortress. And just in terms of kind of as a journalist being to the stadium and things like that, their edge comes from that family feel that they have at their stadium. The fans are really behind their owner, and he is someone that they've really been able to get behind. So massively appeals to me for that one.
Freddie, we're seeing the league's 2 best attacks go head to head. When we're looking at the over and under sort of goals line, what amount and what price really sort of gets your attention?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, as you say, these are 2 extremely, extremely good attacking sides. And for that reason, I think you have to be looking at the overs on this. I think there's going to be goals in this game. Ipswich have plus 2.5 goals in 59% of their games, and Leicester, on the other hand, 56% of the time in their games. So looking at 2 teams that have goals in their games. And I think if you are leaning towards the safe side, you're looking at over 2.5 at 1.78. But if you believe this game could be a bit of a thriller like I do, then over 3.5 is at 2.94, and I like those odds. I think it could be a 2-2 or a 3-2 to one of the sides. So yeah.
And Issy, Leicester have been remarkable. I mean, they've been fantastic all round, but particularly in the second half of games, they've really sort of come on. How do you sort of feel about backing them just to win the second half at 2.24?
Yeah, massively. Well, I think it's a really strong shout, to be honest, because you just got to look at that goal difference. In the second half of games, it goes up to a whopping plus 22 after half time, and then it was just plus 12 before that. So I would 100% comfortably back them to win in the second half. Actually, interesting, kind of delving into the stats a bit more. Leicester have scored very nearly just a third of all their goals after the 75th minute. So clearly they're really strong in the second half. I mean, even in kind of that last 15 minutes of games, and it's kind of crucial to a lot of their success. Obviously that's part of their kind of Premier League quality that they have in the squad, the ability to kind of have that fitness and experience to kind of see out the second half.
And Freddie, both teams to score is priced at 1.63. How much does that appeal to you?
Yeah, it definitely appeals to me. As I've just mentioned, I think this could be a bit of a thriller. Fighting for the top of that table, fighting for the top of the table in the Championship. Ipswich, both teams to score, has happened in 59% of their games. Leicester, it's happened 52% of their games. So these teams let some goals in, and they're obviously scoring goals as well. both teams, they've only failed to score. They're right at the top of the table for games that they've not failed to score in. So Leicester, only 11% of the games this season. They haven't scored, in Ipswich, 15% of the games. So both teams have quality up top and they score goals. So I think both teams to score is very, very possible on this.
And Issy, these two sides played each other only 3 weeks ago on Boxing Day, really, which seems like a remarkable turnaround. The score on that day was 1-1. A repeat of that is priced at 6.8. How do you feel about backing that again?
I can see why people would be enticed to go for this, considering obviously the track record and positions in the table. But I would personally veer away from that. If you look at Leicester City, they're scoring 2 or more goals in their last 5 home matches. None of their results at home have ended in a 1-1 draw. And only 30% of Ipswich's goals have been scored on the road. So, in my opinion, I'm not sure it's going to be an absolute goal fest from Ipswich. I think Leicester are going to take charge on that one. And yeah, just kind of more on the stats that in terms of that 4-match home run, goals for and goals against over 2.5 at home for Leicester. So I would personally veer away from that one.
And Freddie, with Leicester missing some of their strike force to the African Cup of Nations, how much do you think this will have an impact on this game? And who can you see sort of stepping up in their absence?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they've lost Iheanacho and Daka to AFCON, and they've also lost Ndidi. And then Fatawu also got sent off in the Coventry game last time out. So they're missing 3 attackers and then one of their best midfielders. So they're definitely weakened Leicester. That's definitely going to have an impact on the game. From all of those players I've just mentioned, they've got 13 goals this season in the league. So you're taking out a big chunk of their goals that they're contributing to the team. And we saw that last week. They had a poor loss to Coventry away, 3-1. So they hadn't lost in 11 games, and then kind of all these guys go off to AFCON and they struggle against Coventry. The boost may be that Jamie Vardy might be back this weekend. So he's missed 9 games, the last 9 games, and it's possible that he'll be back. So we know what Jamie Vardy can do. He can definitely step up. Give him a ham and cheese omelette before the game, a couple of cans of Red Bull, and I'm sure he'll be raring to go. And then obviously Kieran Dewsbury-Hall also having a great season, 9 goals, 9 assists already this season in the Championship. So I think he could also be another man that steps up in their absence.
And Issy, look, sort of taking all that in, when you've been looking at this game, where do you want to sort of put your money?
Well, I want to go back to that second half, Leicester getting that second half result. It's at 2.22 on SBK. Obviously, I just really liked that the stats about the goal difference, and obviously what I touched on in terms of, a third of their goals coming after the 75th minute. Pretty staggering, to be honest. And just in general, Leicester have taken the lead 30 times and conceded an equaliser on just 9 instances. So you can really see them, seeing out that second half and dominating. And I think that they will be buoyed by that kind of home support that we touched on as well, because it is such a fortress at the King Power. And
Freddie, same question for you, mate.
I think, as I've just mentioned him, I think it's Dewsbury-Hall to get a goal. He's priced at 4.0. Along with the over on the goals, whether you go for 2.5, 3.5, I would go for the 3.5, but add that in with Dewsbury-Hall, and I think we've got a very, very pleasant double there.
Right, we're now moving on to our best bets of the weekend. So instead of sort of doing bet builders and hackers, we're just going to literally focus on a couple of little things here. So, Issy, what is your best bet of the weekend?
I actually thought you were going to go first with this, because I was going to I feel like I kind of nicked your shout.
You can go first. You can have it.
I've gone Brighton to win and both teams to score on 3.05 on SBK. Just looking at that head-to-head record and the 90 meetings that they've had, Brighton have won 8 times. Wolves have won just 3 times. Brighton, their home form is incredible. They're unbeaten in their last 5. Whereas you look at Wolves on the road and they've only won 1 in their last 5. Both teams to score for Brighton, it's a 100% record, isn't it? So in their games, they score lots of goals, but they're always conceding as well. So I just think that's an absolute shoe in that bet. I'm really confident with that one.
Freddie?
So I've gone Blackburn versus Huddersfield over 2.5 goals. So 81% of Blackburn games this season have been over 2.5 goals, which is actually pretty ridiculous. It's by far the most in the Championship. They're averaging 3.41 goals in every game that they're involved in. And a big reason for that is Sammy Smuddick's top goal scorer in the Championship, having an amazing season. Huddersfield, they're averaging 2.67 goals in games that they're involved in. So I think either way, if you're looking at over 2.5, both teams should be contributing to that. And I'll be including that in my ACCA, yeah.
Nice. And I've gone for Brighton and Wolves both teams to score. Just the both teams to score for me at 1.77. I'm playing it safe. As Issy said, every single game Brighton have played at home this season, both teams to score is hit. And I'd just also like to add that both teams to score is hit in 70% of Wolves' away games, and they're 8th in that particular table. So, your next best, Issy, what have you got for us?
I have gone with Brentford to beat Nottingham Forest. I did feel like the Premier League selections were tough this week, but I cover Brentford a lot. I've seen this fixture a few times now. Just the main talking point, obviously, lethal striker Ivan Toney, 100% going to be back in that side. He's a 20-goal striker, scored 20 goals in 33 Premier League appearances last season, obviously before his ban. Looking at that head-to-head record as well, 17 meetings they've had, and Brentford have won 10 of them. They're just really dominant in this fixture, and obviously they have, stuttered a little bit in form, but just touching on Toney, he is the type of player that saves games, can be that difference maker, will even, I think, save their season. So I'm back in Brentford to beat Forest, and that's at 1.96.
Freddie?
I'm going for West Ham to beat Sheffield United at 2.24. So West Ham have won their last 3 games against Sheffield. I know some people would say, they've just lost to Bristol City in the FA Cup, and they've gone crashing out of the Carabao Cup to Liverpool pretty recently. But their league form is good. They've won their last. They're unbeaten in their last 4. They drew 1-3 in the Premier League, and in their last 6 games, they've beaten Man United at home, Arsenal away, Spurs away. So I think they'll have enough to go into Bramall Lane and get the job done and get the win here, especially after they lost that game against Bristol City. I think they'll bounce back.
Interesting. I'm going for under 2.5 goals in Arsenal v Crystal Palace. I think it'll be a bit of a turgid affair for a lunchtime kickoff. Arsenal are in a bit of a rut with their goal scoring form, only 4 in their last 4 league matches. They've also failed to score in their last 2 home games in all competitions. And they've not scored more than 1 goal in a game since they beat Luton at the start of December. Meanwhile, Palace are also only averaging 1 goal away from home this season. There was also only 1 goal in the game earlier on in the season, and that was a penalty. So that is Arsenal v Crystal Palace, under 2.5 goals at 2.18. Now, last but certainly not least, long shots of the weekend. Issy, take it away.
Well, I guess mine's more kind of like touching on goal scorer, but I'm so confident on this one. Definitely put my money on this. Ivan Toney to score for Brentford against Nottingham Forest. That's at 2.32 on SBK. I've covered his journey a lot, covered Brentford a lot. He's going to be back with a bang. He's been, as I said, that the goals last season, 20 goals in 33 appearances, and he's been banging in goals for fun during his time out, for behind closed doors friendlies and Brentford B team games. Scored a hat-trick against Southampton. To be fair, it was an under-23 side, but he's clearly, he's sharp. I've been told by sources close to him that he's in the shape of his life. He's shredded. He's been doing these warm weather training camps in Nashville and things like that, and he is raring to go. So I am back in that one 100%.
Good. And Freddie, what have you got?
So I'm going for Rogue One. I'm going Northampton to beat Oxford United. So Northampton have actually won 3 of the last 5 against Oxford. They've won the reverse of this fixture on December the 23rd. So that was obviously at Northampton's ground. They're going to Oxford's ground, but that's only a few weeks back. They've shown that they can beat Oxford. And they're only 3 places behind Oxford in the table. So this is priced at 4.5. And at those odds, I quite like the chances there as a long shot. Sam Hoskins is back from injury he came back in against Wigan, and he came back with a goal. He's got 13 goals so far this season, so that's a big addition for Northampton. And I think he could help them towards a win against Oxford in this one.
Interesting. I'm going for my old favourite, Dominic Solanke, to score at 3.05. I couldn't pick him last week because he wasn't playing, but now he's back. He's in pretty much the best form of any striker in the league. 6 goals. Unfortunately not. 6 goals in his last 6. Bournemouth are the only team to have a better record than Liverpool over the last 8 games.
You're a Solanke influencer.
I am, yeah. Liverpool have only kept 2 clean sheets away from home this season, so I think there will be goals in this game. In the last 5 games between the 2 sides, Bournemouth have only failed to score once. And this is a quite remarkable stat, really. Solanke has scored 42.8%, if my maths is right, which is highly questionable. Solanke has scored 42.8% of their goals this season. And so if anyone's going to score, it will be him. And I think, again, if my maths is correct, that is the highest percentage share of any player in the Premier League for any team.
So the loving is justified.
Yeah, it is heavily justified. Thanks for listening to this episode of our football podcast. We hope you enjoyed our slightly revamped show. Remember that new customers can get £30 in free bets when you place a first bet of £10 with SBK. T&Cs apply. Please gamble responsibly.